Hi, this is Ken Fox, Vernon and Ruth Fox's older son. I'd like to share with you many of the photographs I've been fortunate to collect over the years. Many came from our grandmother Gini Fox after her funeral in 1972. Others I received from Rudolph Fox, our Uncle Rudy. Our family story is a colorful and interesting one and is well worth knowing. Let's journey back in time along the Colorado River in Burnett County, Texas. Two young immigrants from Mecklenburg, Germany fell in love. On July 10, 1868, Hermann Theodor Fuchs married Carolina Julia Romberg. He was the son of Pastor Adolf Fuchs and Louisa Rümker Fox from Kölzow. Her parents were the merchant and poet Johannes Romberg and Friederike Bauch von Boitzenberg. Hermann and Carolina began a home on his father's property at Tiger Mill, and they adopted two young children, Walter and Marietta Anderson. They soon had 3 children of their own. The oldest, Frieda Hermanna, was born on May 11, 1875. She was always known to her nieces and nephews as Tante Frieda or Aunt Frieda, and is shown here on the left with her older adopted sister Marietta. Their second child was Albano Johannes, born on March 1, 1877. He is seen here at age 6. Albano eventually became our Grosspapa. The youngest child, Johanna Luisa, was born on August 28, 1885, and is shown here in a photo taken around 1900. She became our Aunt Jo. The children grew up on Hermann and Carolina's ranch at Tiger Mill. Hermann built a large 3-story stone house around 1877, and the family gathered for this photo around 1888. Frieda, Marietta, Carolina, Johanna, Hermann, Walter, Albano, and cousin Oscar Fox. According to an old family story, when the photographer arrived that day, Albano and Oscar got dressed so hastily that they put on each other's dress clothes, as can be seen in the length of their trousers. Oscar was the son of Hermann's younger brother, Benjamin or Benno Fox, who never got over the death of Oscar's mother, Emma Kellersperger, in 1880. Oscar and his sister Cora were then raised by their aunts and uncles. Hermann introduced Angora goats to Texas and was a prosperous and respected rancher. Young Johanna posed with her bicycle and some of the family goats around 1895. Growing up, Albano learned everything about ranching. But there was time for relaxation and music, too. About 24 miles southeast of Tiger Mill, near Cypress Mill in Blanco County, Hermann Fox's half-cousin Friedrich Fritz Fox and his wife Theodora Hoppe were raising their own family. She was the daughter of Adolf Hoppe, a German immigrant from Hanover. He had openly criticized the Confederacy during the Civil War and was murdered by Confederate sympathizers around 1863. His body was then thrown into a deep, narrow cavern called Dead Man's Hole. His remains were identified after the war. The Fritz Fox family gathered for this photo on June 20th, 1891. Minna, the oldest daughter, had just married and was not present that day. Fritz and Theodora's 7th child, Georginia Anna, called Gini, was born on December 21, 1880. She became our Grossmama. She poses here with her older brother Fritz. In 1893, at the age of 13, Gini received an autograph book and over the next few years its pages were filled with comments and greetings from her classmates, friends, and relatives. One page was signed by her second-half cousin, Albano J. Fuchs. The German verse translates, "There are diamonds and sunshine in 1,000 sparkling things, yet nothing flashes so brightly in the soul as happy, cheerful laughter." Social life for both families centered around activities at the Cypress Mill Hall. There were frequent dances, picnics, Scott tournaments, bowling, and various types of contests. In 1886, a rifle club was organized, and young Albano participated in the shooting matches, demonstrating great skill. We see him here with his rifle in October 1897. Albano began courting Gini, and they announced their engagement in 1900. They were married at Cypress Mill Hall on May 1, 1901. In her book, Yesterdays, their cousin Annie Kellersberger-Schnelly recalled, "At Cypress Hall several weddings took place, that of Willie Fox and Selma Gert, and of Albano Fox and Gini Fox, Fritz Fox's daughter. Little girls carried baskets of rose petals and threw these before the couples as they entered the hall. A table at one end of the hall held all the gifts from friends and relatives, such as homemade quilts and crochet work. My father always brought a sack of flour, $1 worth of sugar, and $1 worth of coffee, his standard gifts to the young couples." Albano and Gini spent their honeymoon in the old schoolhouse building located on his father Herman's Tiger Mill Ranch, which eventually became the Crumb Ranch. The old schoolhouse and the stone house were still standing in April 2005. Not long after their wedding, Albano began building his bride a new house near the Colorado River. It was located just a short distance from the site of his grandparents' original home and is still standing today. Soon the family and the ranch began to grow. Ewald Herman arrived on March 20, 1902. Here he is with Tante Frida. Then came Gertrude Mercedes on September 29, 1903. The young family enjoyed picnics and outings with relatives on the Pedernales River. There was time for work and time for play. Was Albano trying to help Gini's sister Olga with the women's work as seen in this photograph? Albano Fox and Oscar Fox were both listed in the roll of students in the annual catalog of Marble Falls College for 1905-06. The two-story granite structure was built around 1891 and became part of the Marble Falls School District in 1908. During a visit to Marble Falls in the early 1980s, Aunt Gertrude recalled attending classes as a child in this building. On November 23, 1905, Gertrude and Ewald had a new baby brother, Rudolph Albano. Carolina Theodora was born on November 27, 1907. And Herman Fritz arrived on April 24, 1909. Posing in this tree around 1912 are Gertrude, Rudy, Ewald, Carolina, Herman, and their cousin Constance Romberg. The Fox kids were joined by Albano George on July 15, 1912, and Vernon Ben on July 27, 1914. That year, Albano Fox served as Burnett County Commissioner and moved his family to a house in Marble Falls. Rudy, George, Gertrude, Herman, and Carolina are seen here in the front yard of the townhouse where Vernon was born. The Marble Falls house now has an historical marker in the front yard. This picture was taken on a visit in April 2005. In 1917, the Fox family were again living at their home on the Colorado River. They now had a new addition, Roland Siegfried, born April 17th. George and Vernon posed with their Aunt Frida Fox in this photo taken around 1918. In 1918, the AJFuchs family moved to Hale County near Abernathy. About the time when the twins Marco and Marion were born, on July 11, 1919, Ewald and his cousin Herbert Gate were leaving home to attend mechanics classes at Texas A&M. Marco was 15 minutes older than Marion. Their cousin Tea Goebel took them for this ride when they were just 6 weeks old.
On the day this picture was taken in December 1919, the family was getting ready to attend a shower for Aunt Minna's son Alois Goebel and Myrtle Hagen. An inscription in Rudy's handwriting on the back of this photo states, "The crowd taken down at Myrtle and Alois's at their shower. Alois is the tall one. Myrtle stands by his side. Mama has Marco. Grandmama has Marion. Children from left to right: Vernon, Roland, Nixie, Arno Struve, Paul, Richard, and Major Schroeder. Most of young folks not on here."
The family attended Fritz Fuchs family reunions, this one in 1920. And this one a few years later while they were still living in Abernathy. Gertrude helped take care of the twins. Here, Marco is in the buggy and Marion perches on Gertrude's knee. George, affectionately called Nixie, watches as Herman takes Marion and Marco for a wheelbarrow ride. Now back home from Texas A&M, Ewald was busy at work with his new tractor and threshing machine. There were watermelons during the long hot summer and snowball fights in the winter. George, Vernon, and Roland enjoyed their kittens, and the kids celebrated Easter. Smile, Roland, it's Easter 1922, and tomorrow's your birthday. Gertrude married Herbert Day on February 10, 1923. Later that year, Rudy graduated from Abernathy High School and left home to attend West Texas State Teachers College at Canyon. In the summer of 1924, George, Roland, Marion, Marco, and Vernon found an opportunity to cool off. By the looks of the rocks in the distance, they apparently were on a return visit to the old homestead on the Colorado River in Burnett County. Carolina was growing up. On Christmas Eve, 1924, she surprised everyone when she eloped with Ernest Park. During dinner, when Grosspapa announced to the rest of the family what Carolina had done, Ewald leaped up and rushed out of the house, exclaiming, "My baby sister's not getting married before I do." On that same Christmas Eve, 1924, Ewald married Ruby Barrick. In 1926, Albano and Gini and the 6 youngest boys moved to a sheep and cattle ranch in eastern New Mexico near Tatum. Marco, Marion, Vernon, and Roland enjoyed horsing around behind the ranch house. In 1927, Marion, Marco, and Roland ventured outside after a very heavy snowfall. During those years, Ewald and unidentified friends followed the wheat harvest and toured the countryside on their Harleys. In 1927, Rudy earned his B.A. at West Texas and was an art instructor there for a year. He also began dating Asta Parker. In 1929, he earned his master's degree at Columbia University and then returned to Canyon, where he married Asta and resumed teaching art. In August 1929, the Fritz Fuchs family reunion was held at the ranch.
In this photo, dated 1929, Vernon, Marion, Avalie, Marco in the hat, and Cheryl posed with the ranch school bus, which took them to the high-top school 3 miles away. Standing beside the hack was Miss Cleo Heidel, a young teacher who was renting a room in the big ranch house. She later became our Aunt Cleo.
The 7 younger Fox brothers were together in 1930. At that time, a young teacher named Cleo Heidel was renting a room in the big ranch house. On December 19, 1930, she and Herman got married. In July 1935, George and Vernon both enlisted in the U.S. Army and served in the 8th Cavalry at Fort Bliss. Vernon disliked being in the Army, and through Grosspapa's influence, he received an honorable discharge 11 months later. In 1936, 4 generations of the Fox family gathered in Fredericksburg at the home of Aunt Frida Fox and her mother, our great-grandmother, Carlina Romberg Fox. In the fall of 1930, Rudy began teaching art at North Texas University in Denton, where he taught until his retirement in 1972. After 4 years of marriage, he and Asta divorced, and Rudy began a decade-long partnership with the artist Kenneth Willis Hunt. They had a weaving studio and a beautiful home called Kendolph Terrace near the university campus. George Fox and Mildred Taylor married on June 1, 1937. Their daughter Georgia Ruth was born in July 1938. That same year, 1938, the young men of Tatum High School posed for this group picture. Because Marco had suffered from rheumatic fever as a child, he started school 1 year after Marion did. Marco was a junior and Marion a senior at the time this photo was taken. One night in 1940, without telling anyone his plans, Vernon borrowed Brother Roland's car and drove off to Morenci, Arizona, where he worked in the copper mine. After settling in, he sent his parents these pictures of the view seen from his room in Morenci, and him with his landlady and roommate. Marco Fox married Orma Lister on April 15, 1941. One month later, Marion Fox and Kate Gordon got married on May 29, 1941. The following month, on June 22, 1941, Roland Fox married Ava Sparrick. She later recalled, "Roland and I met at my sister Ruby's house when I was about 15. He and Ruby's husband, Awald, were brothers. He used to visit them frequently, and so did I. So we started doing things together. We loved to go rabbit hunting at their farm. He taught me to shoot a gun, drive a car, ride a horse, and many other things. He was so good to me, made me feel adored, showered me with gifts and his undying love. The summer I was 18, I went with Ruby and Awal to visit his folks at their ranch in New Mexico. This is when we decided to get married. Roland loved the ranch. He bought me a little saddle and we rode the range together, checking on the little lambs and rounding up cattle. Sheep shearing and cattle branding were times the family got together and everyone helped. A time of fun and fellowship as well as hard work. Grosspapa was the patriarch, loved and respected by all. Grossmama ruled her household well. Everyone loved to visit in her home. She was a marvelous cook, taught me many things, learned to make bread from her. Roland and I lived in a little house just a few steps from the big ranch house. In a family of 8 boys, deer hunting became a family tradition. The fall of '42, I had my first and only experience deer hunting. Roland bagged a nice buck, but I didn't fire a shot. Grosspapa made wonderful jerky, sausage, and steaks from the meat.